Hey friends, welcome back to the Apocalypse Homestead. It is July 2nd, yes, so July 2nd, 2022. And this is your July Homestead update. We're just going to keep it in the garden today because there's really nothing exciting or new to tell you about with the rest of the homestead. The rabbits are still making rabbits. We're still harvesting them. I just harvested 9 rabbits last week. And we've got 9 more on deck. We got 1 that's going to be ready in a few weeks, and then 8 more that'll be ready a few more weeks after her. And the chickens are laying eggs, and I still got that 1 American breast chicken is looking beautiful. I should be getting my next my next order of hatching eggs to try again after my little mishap with the stupid internet provider ruining my life. So I'll just keep it in the garden, show what I got going on here. If you've been watching my previous videos, the mission that I'm on is to grow enough food to feed my chickens so that I'm able to feed them without having to go to the feed store. At the time being, every time I use a bag of feed, I go buy 2 more. So for every 1 bag of feed I use, I buy another one and put another one in storage. So I'm going to have a few months worth of feed set aside at all times. And then we'll see what we can do with growing my own feed. And I'll show you what I'm doing here. First of all, this is the season for this weed right here. This is called chamber bitter. And this is the most evil weed in the world. I don't care what you say. Especially this time of year when it gets hot, it is prolific, it is insane, and it grows and goes to seed like unbelievably fast. It is just vicious. It is unrelenting. It's a spawn of Satan. So if you see that growing anywhere near your garden, get rid of it as soon as possible, because you'll look underneath the leaves. There's little tiny. It looks like seeds, but they're actually seed pods, and they have hundreds or even thousands of seeds in them. And once that seed opens, here, this one will definitely have some seeds in it. You can see the little seed pods there underneath it. See it? Those little tiny balls underneath the leaves. Those are filled with God knows how many seeds. It's a nightmare. And it could be out here in the meadow, and if the wind's blowing the right way, one of them will open up and blow right in. And you can see this is kind of depressing. I got it down here in my wood chips, and I knew that would happen because wood chips break down, and you're creating soil underneath that, and then the seeds kind of fall between the cracks and germinate. But I just don't have, and the only way to counter that really is to keep putting wood chips over top of it. And I have not been able to find anyone to drop off some wood chips this year at all. It's been a very difficult thing. A lot of people make it sound like it's easy, but it's not. In some places it might be, but not here. So I've had to go to a friend of mine is an arborist, and he has a pit that he dumps all of his wood chips in, and I can just go there and take as much as I want. But it's like a half-hour drive away. Probably not. It's more like a 15-minute drive away. So it's like half an hour round trip, not including how long it takes me to load and unload the chips. So it's just labor intensive and time intensive, and really we're just talking about the periphery here. And so what I'm gonna do, you can see I've already done some of this here. Just put a tarp down just to smother them and kill it. And I'll probably just keep moving tarps around and just play whack-a-mole with it. Try not to let it go to seed. So back to the main mission here. So there's almost nothing growing here that I'm going to eat myself directly. I've got some cucumbers that are still producing. I've been making lots of pickles. That's been really good. I'll show you my tomato plants in a little bit. They're just about dead. I'm about to pull them up. And my peppers are just now starting to hit their stride. Like, I didn't think they would ever just get going, but I actually just chopped up a bunch of banana peppers and pickled them, and I'm pretty excited about that because I like pickled banana peppers on burgers and stuff. So But the problem is, I planted that pepper bed for the market garden. So there's like 96 pepper beds in it, or pepper plants in there. So they're producing just enough to overwhelm me personally with peppers, but not enough to really bother taking to the market. So it's kind of stupid. But I'm probably gonna cut them up and freeze them or something, so I can use them in the wintertime, put them in some omelets or meatloaf or whatever. So we'll start in the back here. You can see my pineapple guava. You can see some brand new leaf growth here. They're really starting to do well. I'm really excited about that. Oh God, look at this stuff. Awful. Some of the moringa that I grew last year came back. Not terribly strong. I got two coming back, maybe 3 if I looked hard enough. There's a lot of weed growth over here, but 2 out of 15 that I planted came back. So I don't know, they just didn't like this area of the garden. I don't know if it was the soil wasn't very good at the time, or but I've got 7 pineapple guava plants. I've got 2 blueberry bushes on the other side over there that are taking a while to get going. I had like a dozen blueberries on one of them. The other didn't produce any blueberries, and they're barely alive looking. Again, this soil just might not have been very good for that sort of thing. This, because where I'm standing right now used to look like this, and it's really low. It's not as low where I'm standing, but it just gets progressively lower and lower. This area right here in particular is still kind of low. I think maybe if I had to do it over again, I might have made it, instead of jutting all the way out into the meadow, I might have just went that way and this way more. You know, and just made it more square shaped rather than rectangle. But I didn't know, so I did what I could. And but you know, we're gonna keep adding wood chips. I'm gonna keep adding compost and rabbit poop, and I think we're gonna, well, it'll just take a few years, maybe a few seasons to get started. So bed number 1, this looks like this is beautiful. This is sorghum. I'm really excited about this. It just looks really beautiful, and I wasn't sure how it was going to do, because I've never grown it before, and I've never really grown grains before. And I planted some grains over the fall, winter, spring, and they didn't do very good. Like the quinoa was kind of unimpressive. I planted Malay and never saw any of that. I planted barley, and that was kind of a joke. But that is a really beautiful looking bed of sorghum right there. So hopefully pretty soon it goes to seed, and we see how much seed we can get from it. And again, we're getting into the chicken feed here. So sometimes I'm optimistic, and sometimes I'm like, this is never going to work. Like a couple of weeks ago, I harvested, well, I'll talk to you about that when I get to that bed. But here in this bed, I have corn just starting to come up and purple whole peas. I planted some of my replanted Hopi black dye sunflowers here, and they didn't germinate. So I'm doing something wrong with that. So I'm going to have to plant something else here to keep the weeds out. And again, purple whole peas, corn, and then I'll show you what the buckwheat looks like when it's really, really doing well. You know, little white flowers here. Typically, these attract bees, particularly honeybees. I haven't seen a lot of them in particular, but that's usually a good pollinator attractor, and you can see it really grows thick, and that's a real good cover crop. So a lot of these are dual purpose. They're covering the soil, protecting it from erosion and erosion, and they're also blotting out the weeds. Like if you look, I can see some, I can't even see any chamber bitter down there, and I'm not even sure if it's a weed or if it's just more buckwheat coming in, but there's not a lot of weeds in this bed. So it's doing a really good job of keeping the weeds down and keeping the soil protected, and it's growing me chicken feed. This is my first planting of corn. I'm really excited about. Big, beautiful stalks. Should get some ears coming in pretty soon. We'll find out how well that does. I've got more sorghum and more sunflower seeds over here. Here's a new bed of sunflower seeds, and over there we have more purple whole peas, sunflowers, sunflowers, lots of this is purple whole peas and sunflowers. And you can see over here my tomatoes look just about dead. They're really horrible looking. There's a couple of them over here that are still producing, but I'm probably going to pull most of this up. Oop, looks like I got a hornworm here somewhere. I've had one hornworm. Maybe that's why they were looking disgusting. I didn't even realize it, but I had one hornworm that I picked off a few weeks ago, maybe even months ago, and I haven't seen one since. So I got more sorghum coming in here. These are my carrots. I pulled a lot of carrots in the last few weeks, and they're just real small. It could be like from here forward, the soil is really bad. It was in really bad shape. Because I pulled up when I pulled up over in this bed and this next bed over past the peppers, I had squash growing here. I had zucchini, golden zucchini, the Tondoscuro di Pacenza, and over there we had spaghetti squash and Marina di Chioggia pumpkin, and they didn't do well at all. It's the first time I've ever grown squash that did not perform well at all. I didn't get a single zucchini, not a single golden zucchini, not a single spaghetti squash, no Marina di Chioggia, and I got like 5 Tondoscuro di Pacenza, little itty bitty, like baseball side squash. So I made like one meal out of that, and that was it. So when I pulled that up and I broad forked it, there was like 2 or 3 inches of the topsoil that I put on there that I bought at Home Depot, and underneath that was just like concrete, because the subsoil, I broad forked it, I added some compost to it, but it wasn't enough compost to dilute the clay enough, and it just hardened back up again. So there was basically like 2 or 3 inches of soil with a concrete slab underneath it. So that's why I'm hoping that's why nothing did well. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. So I added a lot of compost. I think I put 10 buckets of compost in each of those 2 beds, broad forked that in and replanted it. I have more buckwheat here, and this buckwheat came from that bed over there that I collected the seeds from. So I'm officially no longer buying buckwheat seeds. That's pretty cool. And then this is pretty cool. These are black-eyed peas that I bought at Walmart. I bought the seeds at Walmart in the beans, the rice and beans aisle. I just bought a bag of camellia black-eyed peas, and I planted them, and they germinated. So this is my pepper bed. It looks really good. I'm actually starting to get some peppers. These Cajun bells are doing really well. The cubanos are doing really well. The banana peppers are doing really well. And these serranos are starting to drip. I call it dripping pepper plants because they kind of look like they're dripping like a Christmas tree, almost kind of like a Christmas tree ornaments or something. But these are looking like that. And they're a little bit hotter than the jalapeno, which is not doing terribly great considering I've got like 30 jalapeno plants. So I just smoked a handful of them last week. But basically what I'm doing is I'm taking all of the chili peppers that I have, especially these Anaheims. The Anaheims are doing really well. When they turn red, I just smoke it all together. I smoked them with the cayenne peppers, which you know, I need to plant a lot of cayenne peppers, in other words. Still not a single poblano pepper. Unreal. I mean, I'm just like, oh, look at all these flowers. I'm going to get some, and then I don't know what happens to them. If you have any advice on what that's all about, I'd appreciate it. Like I said, lots of jalapeno plants, and only just a tiny handful of peppers. So, but I've done that before where I had serrano peppers and jalapenos growing at the same time. So I just smoked them both together and called it chipotle, even though I think technically chipotle is supposed to be jalapenos. But serranos is only a little bit hotter than jalapenos, so it's fine. Again, more black-eyed peas here, and more sunflowers. Now this is my first bed of purple whole peas that I planted back in the spring, and this is kind of where I was talking about where I get like real excited and then I get real discouraged. So I was real excited at first because these things were just had so many pea pods in it, and I picked everything that I could find, and I shucked them all, and I got about 3 pounds of peas, which is pretty depressing. Now the encouraging thing is that they're still flowering, and there were still a lot of peas on there that hadn't that weren't mature enough to shuck. So this is still producing. It's still flowering right now. I can see little flowers. It's going to make more pods and make more. So it's not the end of the world. I still have several months to let this grow before it either dies out or uh, gets killed in the frost or whatever. So we'll see if it keeps producing. You saw I've got lots and lots and lots of other field peas growing. And I'm holding the phone down, guys, because it's raining, so I'm trying not to let the rainwater hit my camera. That's why you're looking at my chest most of the time, but I'm trying to keep you all from getting the... Let's put you out a little bit more so you can see my face, I guess. This is the original buckwheat that I planted here. It is still flowering. So I harvested a whole bunch of seeds off of this. Not a lot to feed my chickens, but this little, I don't know, 20 square foot space here that I planted it in was all the seeds that I got from Strictly Medicinal. That's when I ordered it from, which was a mistake. I should have got it from Johnny's. Johnny's will get you a whole giant bag of them. But just growing that much was enough to grow enough seeds to plant, to plant again. And then with what I have planted out there and what I have still coming in here, I'll either have enough seeds for next year to really grow the hell out of it and really make it worth my while, or I might even have enough to add to the chicken feed. So artichokes, it's either a problem with the soil or struggling a bit with the heat. Sometimes they look amazing, and sometimes they look like they're just about to die. So I don't really know. So the reality of it is that I might just end up, maybe after the first year, because you get about 5 years with the artichokes, but the first year you're going to get like one globe on each plant, and it's going to be a big beautiful globe, and then each successive year you're going to get more globes but smaller. So I might just pull this up after the first year, and because I don't know, it's like it's an experiment, so I don't know how much all of this is going to turn into in terms of chicken feed. But in reality, I probably need at least 200 pounds of chicken feed. At least 200 pounds. And that's scary. That's a scary amount of food to have to grow. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to work out. I'm just going to take it as it comes, and when I feel like I have a good amount of food to feed them, I'm going to start feeding them and see if they still lay eggs. It's the only thing I can do. So we'll wrap it up here, and you can see that my sunchokes, aka Jerusalem artichokes, are looking fabulous. They're not yet flowering, but I think they'll probably flower. Yeah, they'll be flowering by the next update, guaranteed. I can see that. Oh, they're already flowering. I see one. Cool. So, like I said, like you might have heard, if you haven't watched my other videos, the sunchoke is a relative of the sunflower, and you can see it looks like a little sunflower, and it doesn't make sunflower seeds, I don't think. Underneath the ground right now is hopefully growing lots and lots of potato-like tubers, which is a fantastic survival crop to have, because they're almost impossible to get rid of, because you'll pull them out of the ground and it'll leave one or two in the ground, and that will grow again next year. So the garden's looking beautiful. It's probably the best my garden has ever looked, with everything growing in it. Hardly anything in it is for me to grow, but that's okay, because I'm going to eat this eventually. This is going to be fed to my chickens, who will lay eggs, and also hopefully eventually I'll get some breast chickens, and I'll be able to eat their meat, and that'll all be from out here, hopefully, and also free ranging and eating crickets and worms and such. So that'll be all from the homestead this month, and I hope you all are doing well. It's not the best time to be starting what I'm doing, but hopefully you already started, or hopefully you're making plans to start in the coming months as it starts to cool off a little bit. Most of us can grow a fall garden. I'm looking forward to starting my green beans next month, and I'll also be starting Brussels sprouts in seed cells next month. So it's amazing how fast it comes up. I just pulled last year's Brussels sprouts out a few weeks ago, and in a few weeks I'll be planting next year. So busy, 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 and hopefully this rain lets up. We're in a really bad rain cycle where it's raining every day, and my yard is starting to look like a hot mess. So a lot of work to do. It's a 3-day weekend. I'm going to try and get to it all, and I hope you all are doing well. Love you guys. Talk to you soon.